Hello, I'm Claes Beckman, and now I'd like to continue talking to you about some of the opportunities and challenges that we face in the mobile industry. As we talked about in our previous presentation, the revenue gap is the main threat to the mobile industry as we can see it right now. But what can we do to combat it? We could perhaps lower the cost, or we could increase the revenues. Let's look at some possibilities. One obvious possibility of lowering the cost for the mobile operator, since we talked about this before, the main cost is related to civil engineering and building the infrastructure. What we could do is to share the infrastructure. One could share the towers, one could share the power, one could share a number of things. And of course, this is done in many other areas of infrastructure. For instance, for train, we only have one railway in Sweden, but we have many train operators. Same thing goes for airport, ships, for shipping, for harbors, etc. So here is an area or an opportunity where we really could help save some money. Another idea that people are working on is to build so-called heterogeneous networks. And networks that are not only built on the outdoor big macro towers, but rather on small base stations at home. Maybe even built by the end user, that when you go and buy yourself a new terminal, you get a 6-pack of base stations to bring home. The technology is already here. It's called femtocells. And the opportunity is, as I said, stop building the outdoor expensive network, let the customers build the networks for the operators. Another problem we have talked about is the cost for license bands. The operators pay enormous amount of money in order to get hold of those valuable frequencies. One way of solving this issue could be of more and more have operations into non-licensed bands. Bands that is open to anyone to operate in, like we have in Wi-Fi. Maybe that could be an opportunity. It's already under trial in Sweden and also in other places like England and in Holland. Another opportunity that we also see is the possibility of making use of Moore's law. That's the electronics and the development in electronics goes so quickly and rapidly. So maybe one can use storage instead of base stations. The terminals and the mobile phones could download a lot of things while you are sleeping, for instance. If the mobile terminal knows that you are interested in going to a certain web page every morning to read your news, maybe that could be stored for you in advance. And that could be an opportunity. So, and rather storage than base stations. So, what about radio spectrum then? Well, radio spectrum, there is plenty of them. There we have frequencies today between 3 kilohertz and 300 gigahertz that the regulators around the world are licensing for the industry. Can we find more? Well, probably there is. Particularly, it is a possibility if we go indoors, then we can reuse a lot of spectrum. Here is an opportunity to have some clever ideas about how to reuse spectrum that could really help the industry. Now finally, as we talked about before, we have had a number of new standards coming out during the last couple of decades. We had GSM, 3G, 4G, and now we're all waiting and working on 5G. So what is 5G? Will it save the day? Well, the ambition with 5G is to provide 1,000 times more capacity than that we have in the networks today. And the ambition is also to support up to around 50 billion connections around the world. At the same time, 5G is supposed to be able to support all different types of new applications and use cases, and without increasing the energy consumption, and at a lower cost than what we see mobile services being produced for today. Will this be done, or maybe is this too good to be true? That still remains to be seen. And that concludes my lectures on the opportunities to reduce cost and increase revenues in the mobile networks. Thank you.